Thank you for tuning in to another episode of DrWhitty Today and our most important conversation on mental health and how it affects every aspect of our lives. We are thrilled to introduce our guest today, Dwayne Wiggins Jr., a Florida native and the eldest of 5 children from a single-parent household who developed resilience and a strong sense of responsibility through his early life experiences. These foundations have shaped his passion for coaching and mentoring, driving him to inspire and empower others. Dwayne holds a Bachelor of Science in Entertainment Business and a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing from Full Sail University, where he also served as President Emeritus of the National Society of Collegiate Scholars. He is currently pursuing a PhD in Advanced Human Behavior. As the Director of Culture at Belmont Charter High School, Dwayne is committed to equipping individuals with essential life skills and coping strategies, fostering meaningful personal growth. A seasoned public speaker and recognized thought leader, he delivers professional development courses for various organizations. In 2020, Dwayne founded A Human Being, a company dedicated to promoting self-improvement and personal development. Listeners and viewers, here and at home, please welcome our host, Dr. Whitty. Welcome to Dr. Whitty Today. Thank you for joining in. We're going to have an awesome show today. My guest host is Dwayne Wiggins Jr. This is going to be exciting. So I hope wherever you are, you grab your teacup, you grab your soda pop, you grab your popcorn, whatever it is you like, grab it and go have a seat, call up somebody and ask them to join the conversation on Dr. Whitty Today. And we're going to talk about how are you feeling. So I'm going to start it with you, Dwayne. How are you feeling?
I am feeling fantastic tonight. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so honored to be a part. And I will say this, coming home today from work, I felt like I can lay down and go to sleep and sleep until tomorrow morning, until it's time to go to work. But I'm feeling energized and I'm feeling amped up tonight. So thank you again for having me. How are you feeling today?
Wow, I'm feeling excited about the show today. I'm feeling a little tired just because, but you know what? I'm sure this is going to perk me up a little bit. I have in the back of my mind, I've got to make a long commute in the morning, but you know what? I'm going to put that all aside, and I'm gonna enjoy the conversation tonight because it's going to be a great one. So thank you, and I'm honored to have you on this platform because you don't have to accept the invitation. So I just want to say thank you, and I also want to say congratulations because, as you can see in the background, there's the book. Are you okay? All right.
Yes.
We'll talk about that a little bit later. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that right off the bat that we've already talked about Dwayne coming back doing another show where we're going to talk exclusively about, about the contents of his book. So, well, without further ado, let's get into it. As everybody already know, we're talking about mental health. So, Dwayne, how does mental health affect us as students, as teachers, as just normal everyday people on the job? Just how does it affect us relationship-wise, family-wise? How does it affect us?
It affects us immensely. And one of the things that I want to say before we even dive into the conversation of the impact of mental health, I want to really bring to the listeners' attention tonight, like the importance of understanding mental health versus mental illness. A lot of times when we associate mental health and mental illness, or even when we're just talking about mental health on a day-to-day basis, a lot of people think like, oh, you have to be a therapist to talk about that. You have to be a doctor to talk about that. Or I don't have enough skill to talk about that. And the truth of the matter is, when we're trying to define what mental health is, it's just our everyday stability. It's like, how are we feeling when we wake up in the morning? Do we feel tired? Do we feel energized? Do we feel like conquering the day? And a lot of time that doesn't affect mental illness. We're not talking about the things of mental illness when it comes to trying to be when you're trying to like have to go see doctors or psychiatrists or anything like that. We're not talking about that. So the main thing, the most important thing is like really talking about like the stigma of what mental health is, because a lot of people don't think that they deal with mental health, and mental health is just your everyday being. How are you feeling every single day of your life? So a lot of people also don't like to talk about mental health. And I find that very mind-boggling, because we can talk about sexual health, we can talk about our physical health, but a lot of times when we talk about mental health, a lot of people don't want to discuss that. So what I've come to realize, and what I'm trying to get other people to realize, is the great effect that how our mental health is affected every single day. So the truth of the matter is that our mental health is significantly can be impacted in various ways of life, like every single day. When we're talking about like students, it influences academics performance, social interaction, or their overall well-being. As leaders, mental health impacts decision-making, empathy, and the ability to inspire others. In relationship, mental well-being is crucial for effective communication, trust, and emotional support. So when we're talking about like our mental health, we're talking about the impact that it has on us being who we are, how we function every single day. And the important thing that we want to look at is, how does this affect us from living our best selves? So that's some ways that it affects us.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. When you first started out and you said that mental health doesn't necessarily mean mental illness. I'm really glad that you pointed that out, because a lot, as you said, a lot of people, once you talk about mental health, that stigma is already entered into the brain. And a lot of people feel like, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with me, when in fact, no one ever said anything was wrong. We just wanted to know, are you okay? And like you said, it doesn't mean that something's going on in as far as psychiatric, psychiatric. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Psychiatric wise. It just means, like you said, every day, how are you feeling from maybe the time you get up out of your bed. Are you excited? Are you motivated? Are you energetic? Are you thinking about something that may have transpired in your life that may have impacted you in a good way, or maybe impacted you in a negative way? And so I'm glad that you clarified that moving forward. So, go ahead.
I want to say this, it's such a thin line between it, because when we look at, the key components of mental health, like our key component of mental health is emotional resilience, self-awareness, social connection, and fulfilling like your purpose and fulfillment. And when we think about, the common mental illnesses, it's things like anxiety disorders, mood disorders, as you said, psychotic disorder, personality disorders. So those things are, when we talk about those types of things, we're looking at mental illness. But when we're talking about our mental health, we're talking about every single day emotional things, self-awareness, social connection, and the purpose and fulfillment. And like when we're trying to engage in activities, or just really trying to contribute to our sense of being, that's when we're talking about mental health.
All right. Thank you. What are some of the warning signs that there's a mental health struggle going on with somebody, and why is it so crucial to normalize mental conversations in today's world, mental health conversations in today's world?
I really love that second part of that question, but I'm going to answer the first part of the question. I want to really talk about normalization, because I feel like that is a very important thing, that when we can really break up the stigma, when we can set aside the stigma versus mental health and mental illness, then we can normalize when a person says that they're not feeling well, that they are just not feeling well. Or it doesn't mean that something is off with them. It could just mean that I'm just not having a good day. So when we're thinking about like the warning signs of mental health struggles, it includes changes in your mood, withdrawal from social activities, change in sleep or appetite, and difficulty concentrating. So when we're thinking about like normalization of mental health conversation, it is very crucial to reduce the stigma, as I said earlier, because it encourages people to really seek help or to foster a culture of support and understanding. So a lot of times what happens is that when people are going through things or they're dealing with like a imbalance in their mental health, a lot of times they don't want to say anything because of the stigma of there must be something wrong with me. And the truth of the matter is there is something wrong. Like if you feel like you're changing your sleep patterns, you're changing your appetite, or you feel like you don't want to be hanging with your friends, if you're normally the one that's hanging with your friends and all of a sudden you don't want to hang with your friends, there is clearly something wrong. It's getting to the bottom of what it is and trying to really figure out. So what happens is we live in this world, because I've been a person that if you ask me how I'm doing, most of the time I'm going to say, I'm okay, I'm fine, everything's great, everything's perfect. And the truth of the matter is everything isn't always perfect and everything isn't always great, but there comes this time in our lives to where we feel, I'll talk about this, strong friends, right? I'm considered a strong friend. I'm considered the friend that if you come to me 9 times out of 10, I'm going to have the answer. Like if you come to me, I'm going to be the one to be able to support you. And the truth of the matter is when I struggle or when I would struggle, because my friends depended on me so much that I didn't feel like I could express my struggle, because then it appeared as if something was wrong, right? Something was wrong with me. But the truth of the matter is that even the strong friends need a support system. They need to be checked in on as well. So what tends to happen is that my encouragement to people, and I write about this in my book, is that we have to get to a state of vulnerability to where we are okay with sharing when something is wrong with us or when something is off or when we're not feeling well. Because when we think about vulnerability, right? I know for me, there was a time in my life where I wouldn't be vulnerable because I looked at it as a sign of weakness. It was that if I said something was wrong with me, it meant that I didn't have it together, or that when people depended on me to have the answers, or that I couldn't do it, or I could be dead tired and act as if I have all this strength, but I'm running myself in the ground to the point to where I'm so tired that it was affecting everything about me. That it was just like chemically unbalanced. And I had to really get to a point to where I started to be vulnerable about my situations and realize that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, that is a sign of strength. Because when you can declare that something is wrong, when you notice or you can notify that something is wrong and you express that, then you realize that you may not be the only one going through that situation, that someone can give you advice on how to do that, or they can lead you in the direction of what to go in. And a lot of times when we're going through things, we don't share because we feel like we're the only ones that go through that. But my encouragement always to people is to share, because you never know who's going through the same situation. And really, and you may be able to foster a safe space where you can share. So I think that I said all that to say that I think it's important that we do begin to normalize these conversations and be vulnerable in those conversations, so that individuals can be there to help and support us and to understand when we're having an off day.
Thank you so much for that. As you were talking, it just made me think of, and by the way, I can definitely relate to the strong friend, or the person who always seemed to have like the encouraging word, or the answer to the question, or the solution to the, I won't call it a problem, I'll say a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely can relate to that. And you do feel like maybe people won't understand, or maybe people will look at you differently, or just lots of different scenarios. You think you're the only one. And so you don't tend to want to be vulnerable, as you said. So I can definitely relate to that. It made me even think of my time in the military, where it was looked at as a sign of weakness if you needed to go see, mental health, somebody in mental health. It was considered a sign of weakness. It was considered a sign of weakness if you went to sick call. So you would have soldiers who would be injured or in pain, and they would not go to sick call because of the stigma. If I get a profile, I'm going to be looked at as weak, or I'm going to be talked down to by my superiors or my colleagues. So it's important to have this conversation that it's okay to pay attention to yourself, to be self-aware of how you may be feeling, or how you're dealing with certain situations that come about. So thank you for sharing that.
I want to add on that you said. I'm sorry. I want to add on to something that you said too, because although that is like could be something that happened in the military, I even take it back to our roots, to our hair, to our African American background. Like, I can't speak on anybody else, so that's why I'm focusing on African Americans. That even back in the day, or even when I was growing up, it was a weakness for men to cry, or men didn't wear pink, and so all of these things that in our African American males, that there was all of these things that people would put a stigma on you if you did a certain thing a certain way, so I think it a lot of times it becomes generational, that we deal with a mental health thing. Or even like growing up, I grew up in church, so it was a lot, you better pray about it. Well, what's wrong with praying about it and also seeking help to get somebody to support you? And so it's one of those things to where it was almost like against the family rule to say, like, go get them, or you better pray, or what we would say, oh, that boy or that girl is crazy, or they not wrapped too tight. And the truth of the matter is that all of those things would be true, but we never took the time to really get the support and the help that we needed as children. So what we do, we tend to bring these generational things in with us, and it just carries on and carries on until someone stands up and say, you know what, it is okay not to be okay. It's okay to get the help and support that I need. It's okay to go see a therapist and talk this out. It doesn't make me crazy. It doesn't make me anything. It just makes me not okay. And I'm going to seek the support that I need in this time.
Great. You're absolutely right. I believe that there has to be balance in everything that we do. And since you brought it up, church, one of the things that we often say is we have to worship, God in spirit and in truth. And so I interpret that, to say that we have to worship him in spirit and in reality. And so I think sometimes the reality part is what the church misses. And nothing against the church. I didn't grow up in church, but I spent a lot of time in my adult years being active in church and on several leadership levels. So I'm not against, the church in any sort of way whatsoever, just in case somebody might think so. But a lot of time it may not be a spirit. It's not anything that has to be casted out or anything. All I need to do is go sit down somewhere and talk to somebody about how I'm feeling, right? So that I can become, like, I'm aware something is going on, but I may not know how to deal with it or what I should do. So I need to go and talk to a professional or somebody who's had this experience. I don't need you to speak in tongues. I don't need you to lay hands on me. I don't need you to throw a whole bottle of oil on me. I don't even need you to talk about me to the rest of the folks in the church. What I need is to go to see, maybe I may need to see a therapist. I may need to see a doctor. I may not need any of that. I might just need to go talk to a coach, or I might just need to talk to a friend, So I'm glad that you pointed that out. There has to be balance in everything. And, and this is just my belief. Nobody has to believe it, but I believe that we do what we know to do. We know what we can do, and then we let God add his super to it.
Yes.
I don't believe that, we supposed to just sit around and just be like, oh, woe is me. No, I believe God gave us the answers to everything that we need to know and do and become. But when it gets to a point where there's something that is out of our power, that we recognize that and we hand it over to Him.
Yeah.
So that's just my belief. So when we talk about mental health, I believe that a lot of that stuff that, has gone on over the years is due to a lack of knowledge. Don't get me wrong. I think some of it has its place. But I do believe that sometimes somebody just need to sit down and be talked to. They need to be loved on. They need to have be dealt with. They have to be dealt with grace and patience, compassion, empathy, sympathy, all of that. And I just believe that when we do that, we can help heal people from anything, is what I would say. Let me see. Offer your perspectives on combating stigmas and strategies for individuals to recognize their own mental health needs.
Wow. For me, what I feel is important. I feel like there's three things when I think about this. There are three things that I feel that will help with combating stigma: education, open dialogue, and sharing personal experiences. I think it's important for people to be educated in these things. I had a conversation. I was on this panel on this board not too long ago, having a conversation about, joy for students. And we were talking about like summer programming and how to bring students into like summer programming. And they asked me to come on and they said, what do you think is missing? What do you think is missing? And I said, joy for the students. I feel like a lot of times that students, they're just not excited about coming to school. They're not excited about the program. And I said, a lot of times what's really affected is their mental health. And the response was, the response was, we cannot talk about mental health because we are not psychiatrists. We are not doctors, and we are not, we can't do that. And I immediately stopped and said, I went on my whole spiel about we don't have to be these things to talk about these things. And I went on my whole spiel about, we talk about all these different types of health, but mental health is what we not want to talk about. And I think what's important is that when we are educating ourselves, the number one thing is when we are begin to educate ourselves in this, we'll know the difference between mental health and mental illness, because in that conversation, the individual immediately connected mental health for students wanting to come to summer programming and not being inspired because of things that they're dealing with. She immediately associated that with mental illness. So becoming educated on the difference, that alone will really help the stigma. Then I think open dialogue is so important. Being able to have discussions around this. I think that in some of the most important places that we spend our time, a lot of places don't talk about it because they're not educated on it, or there's just something that we just kind of sweep under the rug. I love now, like I feel like it's more recent than normal, is that like in the workplace, people are saying like, oh, I'm taking a mental health day. And I am rooting for them when they do that. I'm like, and even when my staff say to me like, Mr. Wiggins, I'm going to take a mental health day, I was like, do you need to? Like, I'm rooting for them to do that, because what I realized, I think about when I was growing up, and I think about like my mom used to say to me, my mom and dad, they were like, oh, my kids come first. My kids come first. And when I became the guardian for my niece and nephew, I thought to myself like, oh, I'm going to put them first. They're going to always be first. And then what I realized is that when I wasn't putting me first, I was wearing me out and everybody else around me was great. And I'm like, that can't make sense. I'm more out, that can't make sense. So what I started to do is I really started to advocate for people, especially like teachers that I'm working with, is to put yourself first so that you can be good for everybody else. And I think like that is super important to say, you know what? I'm not okay. I need to take a day off, or whatever the case may be. Do what you have to do so that you can be good. So when we start having this open dialogue about, mental health and what it is, or when we start sharing with individuals that we're not well or we're not good, then it alerts people that may be going through the same thing, that I probably should do the same thing. And imagine if if we're in a workplace, or we're in a church, or within our houses, or within our families, if everybody started to do what they needed to do for their mental health, how it would really change the trajectory of how things look in our surroundings. That if people really took the time to really do what they needed to do for themselves, how their mental health, how you'll be good for everybody else around us. So when you're working yourself, like, there's no award for working overtime other than maybe some extra pay. But if your mental health is not good and you're doing all this stuff, then you become good to nobody else. You don't become good to your spouse. You're not good to your family and friends. You're not good to the people that are surrounding you, that have to deal with you. But just imagine if everyone took the time to focus on their mental health, how we would change the trajectory and the story and the narrative of the things that are around us. And then the final thing that I said within those the three things is that sharing personal experiences. A lot of times, and this goes back to being vulnerable, like, a lot of times people don't want to share because they feel like they are the only ones going through, right? They don't want to share that I may be struggling with my electricity bill or whatever. I may be about to have my car repo, whatever. Like, you're not the only one, right? You're not the first one, and you definitely won't be the last one. So what I realized, like, I recently did something that I was so embarrassed to share, and it was nothing major. And I was talking to one of my friends about it. I was like, I got to tell you something. I recently did this. And then she was like, okay, you and a million other people have done. I'm like, really? I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know. And it was no big deal, but it was just one of those things that just the guilt really just started to, like, eat me up for no reason. And the moment she said, oh, I've been through that as well, I felt such a relief to say, wow, how did that work out for you? Can you give me some guidance on how to approach this situation? It made the situation feel so much better. And for like months, while I was stressing about this little minor thing, I could have let it go if I would have just been open with the people around me. So I say that to say that when we want to combat the stigmas and what it looks like, what's important for us is to become educated about it, have open dialogue, and share our experiences. And what I realize is that when people can recognize their mental health needs by practicing self-reflection, maintaining a journal, or being mindful of their emotional responses, seek professional help when you need it also. That is so super important. Don't be afraid to do that as well.
Exactly. I know people often say hurt people, but we need to start saying also that heal people.
Absolutely.
Yes, heal people. There's so much that I thought about as you were talking, but what came to mind too is that the mental health day, and I also used to take a mental health day, and I need to start doing it again, but my mental health day was always on a Monday. Because there was something about those manic Mondays that just used to drive me crazy. And I was like, you know what? I told my supervisor, I said, if there's any day I'm going to take off, I'm just going to put it out there right now. On Mondays is my mental health day. The only other day I'm going to take off is Friday, so I can have a long weekend. And that's what I used to tell them. I want you to look at this question, and let's answer that question. What role does spirituality play in mental health? That is from Mr. Charles King.
What role does it play?
Yes.
That's a good question. What I think about, spirituality and mental health, honestly, what does it mean to be spiritual, right? Like, it's like, we're not
That's
talking
the first thing.
Like, we're not talking religion. We talk about spiritual. And most of the time when we're thinking about what it means to be spiritual, it means, for me, that we are depending and looking on something higher than us, right? It's different from everybody, but for me, it's God, right? So when I'm thinking about my spirituality and what I'm looking for, there's always something higher than me. That means that I can't do it on my own, so I depend on something higher than me to be able to solve the problems, to be able to lean on, to give me comfort, to give me guidance, or whatever the case may be. What I think is important is that and I'm talking strictly for me, right? When I think about, being spiritual and the things that have supported me, I know for me that I've been in situations to where things have stressed me out, things have made me feel like I wanted to give up all hope or whatever the case may be. So what I would do, I would listen to music that was inspirational, that was worship, that would put me in a place or a space to calm my spirit. And then what I would do, I would also meditate and reflect. But what gave me the most comfort when it comes to situations in my life is that when I think about who I pray to and how God has provided and how he's done things for me in the past, it always brings a peace over my life to remind me that if he did it before, he's going to do it again. And the comfort that really reassures me is that this is not a Bible verse. This is just something that people say, that he'll never put more on you than you can bear, right? If he put it on you, if he's given it to you, you can bear it. So what I've really tried to do is to take it out of my hands and put my trust in God, to depend on him to lead and guide me in all truth, all understanding, and just reflect on what he's done for me in the past, right? So when I think about the relationship with mental health, is that is the thing that when I self-reflect, and it goes back to meditating, self-reflecting, and really spending time with who you pray to. And like I said, for me, it's God. That I take those moments to really just kind of reflect on, and I do a lot of self-reflecting, a lot of self-reflecting. And I really take a moment to just really sit in the fact that I'm in this space, this is what's happening, but I trust and believe that the universe, that God has set it up for me to be able to learn a lesson from this. What am I going to take away from what I may be going through? What am I experiencing? How can I teach other people about experiencing or going through what I may have been through? So I don't always look at these quote unquote bad things that are happening. I look at them as like lessons and really take the time to self-reflect in a spiritual manner so that I can make sure that when I'm out in the world or when I'm connecting with people, that if somebody does say like, hey, I went through this, that I can share my experiences as well. I hope that answered the question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Well, I tell you what, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been an awesome conversation with Dwayne here, and we've got more, definitely a whole lot more to come. I tell you, there's well, I won't ask that. I'll wait until we come back. We've got a few commercials that we want to air, and we hope that the listeners and viewers out there are taking something away from tonight's broadcast. And so what we're going to do is, after we come back from the commercial break, we're going to drop a link in the chat, and we want, maybe one or two listeners and viewers out there to come up on stage and talk to us about how are you feeling. And so don't be shy. There may be somebody out there that needs to know how you're feeling. And we want to know so that we can maybe give you some encouragement, or just maybe you don't need encouragement and you feel great. You can encourage us as well. So we'll do that on the commercial break. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned in to DrWhitty Today. We'll be right back. Life is a beautiful, complex journey, but amidst the hustle and grind, how often do we stop and ask, are you okay? Introducing Are You Okay? A mental health and well-being check-in and conversation, the groundbreaking book by Dwayne Wiggins Jr. With a sincere heart, Dwayne takes you on a journey that reminds us all mental health matters. This powerful guide encourages open dialogue about mental well-being, showing how vulnerability fosters healing, connection, and understanding. It's a call to reflect, reach out, and break the stigma around mental health. Together, we can build a community rooted in empathy, support, and understanding. Start your journey today. Pick up Are You Okay? And spark meaningful conversations that truly matter. Because when we check in on each other, we grow stronger together. Presented by Dr. Timothy Felton and Teron Coleman, Black Boys Matter explore the vital role of parental presence in raising Black sons. As Black boys navigate persistent obstacles and challenges, fostering authentic, trusting, and nurturing relationships through positive engagement becomes crucial. Each chapter of this profound manuscript leaves readers with greater understanding and deliberate techniques for addressing the issues these young men face. Get your copy wherever books are sold. Dr. Ian Buchanan, a native of East St. Louis, Illinois, is the CEO of the NIA Education Group. He is deeply committed to servant leadership and addressing inequities. His best-selling book, King, a 4-part leadership framework for Black men, is making waves in the leadership community. His extensive experience spans teaching, school leadership, and advocacy. Pick up your copy of King today wherever books are sold. All right. We are back. We are back with Dwayne Wiggins Jr. We're talking about how are you feeling? And so we're going to continue the conversation. And if there's anybody out there listening and viewing, we invite you to click on the link that we put in the chat, and we'll bring you up, and then you can talk to us about how you are feeling. Dwayne, I've got another question. Share some practical advice for listeners and viewers to raise their mental health, emphasizing the importance of self-awareness and seeking help when needed.
That is a great question. And as I said earlier, I am really big on self-reflection. So what I'll say is to really raise mental health is practice self-awareness by regularly checking in on your emotion and stress levels. I think that is super important. Just really developing a routine that includes physical activity, mindfulness, and social connection. It's also important to seek mental health professionals when needed. I love to self-reflect. I really love to sit down and really just take a moment to say, did I offend anybody today? Did I purposely do something? Did I raise my voice? Whatever. I'm always thinking about, when I'm sitting down and I'm reflecting, how did I treat people? Because that's my biggest thing. I always want to treat people well. And it's not in a sense of I'm people pleasing. That doesn't even fit in my life. It's not that, but I really practice every day treating people well. So if people reach out to me on social media, I respond to everybody. I respond to every comment that people write on my stuff on all social media platforms. I speak to people when I'm out in public, even if they don't speak back. And if you know anything about Philadelphia is hard, and you can get people not speaking back. So I'm very intentional about how I treat people, because I really live on the golden rule. Treat people the way that you want to be treated. I treat people good because I want people to treat me good. And if they don't, they don't. However, but self-reflection is a really big part of your mental health, because you can always see ways to better yourself. I think about, what would I have done different if I feel like my day is starting to turn or get bad or whatever the case may be? What could I have done different? I don't point the blame at anybody else. I always reflect on what I could have done differently. And that helps a lot with mental health, because it brings you in alignment to your purpose and your calling and all of those great things. And the goal is to always be in alignment with what you've been called to do. So that's really some ways, some practices that I would encourage people to really align your mental health.
Great. Thank you for that. And I want to say, if you are somebody who's asking somebody, are you okay? Or how are you feeling? be ready to sit and hear exactly how they're feeling. Many years ago, I'm not going to use names or anything, but many years ago, I had a laughing moment about this because someone had asked somebody, "How are you today?" And that person that they asked was literally going through a lot, and they started to tell this person exactly what they were going through and how they were feeling, and it became sort of a laughable moment to us just because that person said, "You know what, I'm never going to ask anybody else how they're doing if I'm not prepared to actually hear what they have to say back to me." And it became a laughable moment, but it was a learning moment because there are people out there that really need you to sit and listen. And that person, that particular day, they might not have needed a therapist, a psychiatrist, a mental health professional, none of that. All they needed somebody to do was to stop and listen to what they were going through, how they were feeling that particular day. And who knows, I wasn't, a part of that conversation, but just imagining that that person who had taken that time to listen and then allowed that person to basically download, okay, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm going through. That may have been all that person needed to get through the rest of their day, their week, their month, their year. So I just encourage people to be ready. Like, don't just use, "Hey, how you doing?" or "How are you feeling?" or "What's up?" or whatever you might say to people. Don't just use it as a cliche or some sort of thing that you just throw out there, where you really don't expect anything back except the word fine. or I'm good. Like, I asked somebody how they were doing, and their response was, "I'm good." And I said, "Well, what does that mean?" And then, when you ask somebody, "Well, what does I'm good mean?" And then many people can't tell you, or they may say another word, and then you're like, "Okay, well, what does that mean? I need you to help me understand exactly how you feel, because I'm not just asking you to get a one-liner back. I'm asking you because I really do want to know, how are you feeling?" And when I think about um, in the workplace, we can get a lot more productivity or performance out of our employees by simply saying, "How are you feeling today? Are you okay?" Why? Because that communicates that I'm not just a number, I'm not just a person, um, but I'm a part of something here where somebody actually cares about how I am as a human being, not just that I'm here to produce whatever it is that I'm here to produce. So thank you for everything that you just said there. So let's talk about in 2020, you founded a human being, a company dedicated to coaching for self improvement and personal development. Tell us what that accomplishment means to you.
I am going to do my best to keep this brief because that can be a whole nother show. Um, how it all came about, honestly, is that at the end of 2020, going into 2021, my sister passed away. My baby sister, I'm the oldest of five. I have three sisters and a brother. And my baby sister passed away from sickle cell complications. And I went through the process of, going through the funeral, all of that stuff in Florida. Drove to Florida, came back, and I was laying on the couch and really just struggling. It was like the day after something, really struggling. And I got a phone call from someone, and they were like, "How are you today?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." Really was not, like literally crying. And this individual proceeded to tell me all of the things, and it was someone that I worked with um, outside of like a normal work, but it's like church work stuff. And this person proceeded to tell me every single thing that they needed done, like all of the things they needed done. Not really looking through my soul, not looking through anything to say, like, you know what, I know he's not okay. Like, he's really struggling. He just lost his sister. And if anybody know, I'm close to my siblings. So I went through that process. And in that moment, by the time I got off the phone, I said to myself that I never want to be that person. Like I never want to be that person that when I know someone may be going through something and just a human reaction of someone passing away that you're close to, I never want to be that person to to put my needs before anybody else. So I thought to myself, I just want to treat people like humans. And I want to encourage humans. And at the top of the show, I said, I love humans. I'm obsessed with humans, not in a creepy way. I love them, not in a creepy way. But I just want them to be their best. And so what was important for me is that we started to treat people like humans. That's what's important to me. And the truth of the matter for me is that we're all humans, all of us. But the encouragement comes to me when I say, what are you being? Like, are you being your authentic self? Are you following your dreams? Are you living in the moment? Are you the person that when it comes to your being, what are you doing? And my encouragement through my organization is to really encourage people, as you can see on my shirt, to be driven, vital, and whole. That the goal is, if you have a dream that you want to accomplish, I want to help you do that. I want you to remind you how vital you are, and then to remind you that you are whole, regardless of what it may look like. But the end result is for you to be whole, to be healed. And so I wanted to really encourage people just to say, like, hey, treat people with fairness, treat people with kindness. We're all humans, but we're all walking in our calling, and we're all being. And whatever it is that we're being, I want you to be your best self. So in that moment, in that phone call, I wanted to encourage people that even though people may be going through, treat people with dignity and respect as humans, and allow them to be whatever they may be. If they're sad, if they're not okay, if they're dealing with mental health, whatever the case may be, whatever they're being, you support that and you encourage them through it.
Thank you. Thank you. As the director of culture at Belmont Charter High School, talk to us about how you create social change and a meaningful impact with your students there.
Oh, that's a great question. I absolutely love the students of Belmont. And one of the things that's important for me is just fostering an inclusive environment where students feel valued and heard. I feel like that is just my work across my life work. I call it my heart work. And what I'm able to do is really implement programs that promote mental health awareness, diversity, social emotional learning, and just really continue to make a meaningful impact through those programs that we're offering. So, I really, really want students to feel that they're in an inclusive environment. So that's what we really, really push for.
All right. Thank you. I have just two more because I know, and I didn't put it out earlier, but you have that exciting upcoming show of your own. So before you have to get out of here, I want you to, to plug that.
I sure will.
All right. So what inspired you to write the book behind you? Are You Okay?
Thank you for mentioning that and bringing that up. I know one of the things when I think about this book and what really inspired me, Are You Okay really came from a plethora of things. Like the Are You Okay stemmed from that story that when I said, like, talking about the individual that called me to quote unquote check on me, but ended up telling me all of these things they wanted me to do. When I think about like, Are You Okay? I am very intentional about doing check-ins. So the Are You Okay? That line stemmed from, it's a mental health and well-being check-in and conversation, stemmed from that moment that turned into a platform that I did during the pandemic with a few inspirational people, that turned into a workshop that I now present. I presented it like 28 times all across America. Then turned into me creating my own summit, and now a book. And it's just like, I want this conversation to continue, and I want people to really just continue to ask people, are you okay? And my real inspiration really came from witnessing the struggles of those around me and the importance of opening a conversation about mental health, like really pushing the envelope about having those conversations about mental health. So this book emphasizes that it's okay not to be okay, and that really seeking help is the true strength that can be help from a mental health professional, from your friends, from your family, or just praying to your higher power, that you really can, it's okay not to be okay, and to seek help when you're not. So I'll say this: the book does provide. It's in the book. There's a 31-day reflection guide. So the book talks about mental health. It goes through like the stigmas. It talks about how the importance of vulnerability, having the conversation. But also, as I said in the beginning, I'm big on reflection. So there's a 31-day reflection guide towards the end where you can actually write inside the book and begin to reflect for 31 days to really help impact your mental health.
All right, thank you. I feel like you already answered this question, but if you didn't, what do you have to say to Mr. King? Does your organization have a mental health program?
Listen, thank you, Mr. King, for that question. We are working hard. Although we are about 4 years old or so, we are still working more and more and more. I don't know if you're referring to my organization or my school organization. The school that I work for, yes, but within Are You Okay? We do a lot of coaching with mental health for young and old. And then we also host summits. So we just did a summit for the adults to do an Are You Okay summit. It was a day-long summit where we had guest speakers and panelists to come and do like a mental health check-in. It was very, very powerful. And then on August 2nd, 2025, we will be hosting a youth and young adult summit that's going to be free for students to come out. We'll do a lot of giveaways, but that summit is going to be set up like we did for the adult, where there'll be keynote speakers. We'll have breakout rooms for students to go into, and then we'll come back together to end the day. So we are definitely putting together programs and summits for our youth and young adults, and then also for adults as well.
All right, thank you. I have one question before you take off. How can understanding and prioritizing mental health transform not just individual lives, but also the broader communities we are a part of?
The truth of the matter is understanding and prioritizing your mental health, it really leads to healthier individuals, which in turn creates stronger communities. And that's what we should be aiming for, to really uplift and impact our communities. When people feel supported and valued, they contribute positively to society. So when we see that when people feel valued, like there may be less crime, there may be less situations that happen. But what I will say, that fostering an environment of empathy, cooperation, and resilience is really the way that we should be leaning in towards, because when we have those things happening, it begins to shape the mental health of like individuals within our communities. And if our communities begin to die off due to crime and all of these other negative things that are happening, then we no longer have a community. But when we shift and turn those things around and begin to focus on our mental health in a positive way, our communities definitely become better.
All right, and last thing, what do you want readers to take from your book? And after that, I want you to go ahead and give a good plug to your podcast.
Thank you so much for that.
And tell viewers where they can find you.
Okay, I sure will. When I think about this book, and I'm still soaking it in, I'm still soaking in the fact that I wrote a book. I'm now author. It's still, someone said it to me today, and I'm just trying to get used to it. But I hope readers come away with a deeper understanding of their own mental health and the importance of reaching out for support. This book really emphasized that it's okay not to be okay, and that seeking help is strength. That's the biggest takeaway, that it's okay that you may be going through whatever you may be going through, but the book really provides some practical things that it will help support you, and that, when you seek the help that you need, it really is strength. It's not a weakness to say that there's something wrong or I'm going through something. It really is strength. So that is what I hope individuals get when they read this book.
All right, I can't wait. I already pre-ordered my book, so I can't wait to get it.
This week, I'm so excited. Right. So we'll be shipping out this week to individuals who did the pre-order. We're going to we sold out of the pre-order. We're going to do another pre-order because it will be in distribution in 60 plus stores come May 3rd, it'll be out. But we're going to do another sale where people can go and get the book ahead of time, where I am personally writing messages to every single person that pre-ordered the book. So thank you all so much for your support. If you want to get the book, you can visit my website at www.dwaynevondrake.com. That's DWAYNE V as in Victor, ONDRAKE.com, and you will see the pre-order. It'll be available tonight after I finish my podcast at 8 o'clock tonight, A Human Being, that will be streaming on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at 8 o'clock tonight.
All right, thank you. Make sure you drop that link in my chat or LinkedIn, so that way I can, after this, I'm going to move right on over to that to support you. Like I said, I can't wait to get my copy of the book. I can't wait to have you back on so we can talk about the contents of the book. I just want everybody to know that I'll be back here on the 31st with Dr. Clarissa Harris. We're going to talk about some mental health as well for that show. So we hope that you'll come back and tune in to that one. Awesome. What can I say? Thank you so much, Dwayne Wiggins. There's a lot that everybody can take from this show, and I'm going to be watching it again and again. So I want to know that it was great having you, and I know this is not going to be the last time. So you get yourself ready, get on over to A Human Being, and I'm going to join you there in just a second.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for the wonderful platform. Just a shout out to you and what you're doing. It's such amazing work. I really do appreciate you. And also thank you for that wonderful commercial. I was sitting over here like, oh my God, like what's going on? But I'm really excited and I'm so grateful. And I just want to say thank you again for this opportunity.
We treat people like we want to be treated, right?
I love it. I love it.
All right. Take care. I'll be right over.
All right. You too.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining in to DrWhitty Today. You saw it, our guest host, Dwayne Wiggins Jr. He's heading over to his podcast, A Human Being. If you want to check him out, go ahead and do it. I just want to encourage everybody out there that if you need someone to listen, if you think that there's something going on, maybe you're not feeling well, maybe you're not doing well, whatever the case might be, we want you to be aware of how you're feeling, and we want you to be aware of that you may need to talk to someone, be it a friend, a person in your family. Maybe you perhaps do need to see somebody in mental health. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong to be able to talk about exactly how you are feeling. I want to think about a movie that I watched years ago, and it's funny what you can gain from watching movies, but I remember watching a movie, it was called Beowulf, and I don't know if anybody's seen it, but something stuck out to me at the end of that movie, and it was just the fact that Beowulf was looked at as this great hero, and, you know, for all intents and purposes, that's exactly what he was. He was a great hero. But as we know, all great heroes tend to have a weakness, and he had a weakness. And at the end of the movie, he tried to talk to someone about that weakness and what it done. But for whatever reason, and we get it, you know, some people, they may not want to know. They only want to see you as the hero. They don't want to see anything else. But he tried to tell his number one person about the mistake that he felt that he had made. And that person would not allow him to tell him. He just kept telling him, you're a Beowulf, you're a Beowulf. You know, basically he didn't want to hear it. And I get it. You might be somebody's Beowulf, or you might be the Beowulf. But what the point is I want everybody to take away that whether you're Beowulf or you're a hero in somebody's life locally or whatever the case might be, there may be something that you're feeling, that you're going through. You might not be aware of it. You may be aware of it. Just know that it's okay to express how you feel, to talk about how you feel, to get it out there. It's okay to feel what you're feeling, but we got to make sure that whatever we're feeling, that we're handling it the right way, and that we're allowing ourselves to heal if it's feelings that we have to heal from, if they're negative emotions. And then there are times when obviously we have very positive emotions, and that's great. And of course, we may not need to sit down and talk to anybody, but maybe we do. We're so excited that we have to talk to somebody. The point is, just know that when you need to talk, and just know that it's okay to do it, and have a support system around you of people who are aware of the signs, that they know when you need to be talked to, when you need to be encouraged. Make sure you surround yourself with people that give off positive energy, and not people who drain you and put off negative energy. So with that said, I just want to thank all the listeners and viewers. This has been a great show. And if you want to watch Dr. Whitty Today on any of the platforms, if you want to get a hold of me outside of Dr. Whitty Today, I am located on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter. And did I mention LinkedIn? I think I did. So I'm on all those platforms. You can look me up. You can look me up under the names that you see on your screen, and you can get a hold of me. Thank you once again. This has been the most joyous show, and we will see you on the 31st, May the 31st, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I'll be talking to my guest host, Dr. Clarissa Harris. We'll be doing another episode on mental health. So I'll see you there. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining us on Dr. Whitty Today. We appreciate your time, and your viewership is the heartbeat of our show. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and most importantly, subscribe. Your support keeps us going, and we can't wait to have you back. So hit the notification bell to find out each time we air live. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, stay motivated, and stay tuned.